Hello, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of Moore's October Rants. Today's episode is titled Holding On to What's Already Gone in Relationships. Lately, I've been thinking about the cycle of letting people back into your life over and over, even when they keep making the same mistakes. I used to do this, overlook the hurt, the repeated behavior, because deep down, I was scared. Scared of what might happen if something happened to me or them. I worried. What if I woke up tomorrow and the last thing they ever thought was that I was mad at them? That fear kept me trapped. I thought I was being kind, but what I realized is that by forgiving them before they were even sorry, I wasn't helping either of us. Letting someone back in, not because they've changed, but because you're scared of what life might look like without them, it's easy to fall into that trap. I was afraid of the emptiness, of losing that connection, but then I started asking myself, what is life like with them? Is life really living if I'm giving 90% of myself and getting back barely 10%? Is life really living if I'm holding on to someone who's not holding on to me in the same way? I had to face the hard truth. If the relationship is toxic and I'm emotionally draining myself just to keep it alive, am I really living at all? I mean, sure, I'm surviving. But is that enough? These are the tough questions I had to ask myself, and I know some of you listening might be asking yourselves too. For years, I ignored patterns that were unhealthy. I changed who I was, engaged in behaviors I wouldn't normally do, just to keep certain people in my life. I thought, if I don't keep it interesting, if I don't make them happy, am I going to lose them? I got so lost in the idea of what I thought I had to be to keep these people around that I forgot to ask myself, am I even happy? It took time, but eventually I realized that it's not always about fault. Sometimes it's not your fault or their fault. Sometimes it's just not meant to be. And that's okay. You can find peace in accepting that. Some relationships are there for a season to teach you something, and once you've learned that lesson, it's time to go your separate ways. If you've already learned the lesson, and you stick around in the same situation, well, then it becomes a mistake. If you're not letting each other grow, evolve, and move forward, you're just keeping yourself stuck. And that's when things get toxic. You're just spinning your wheels in a relationship that's going nowhere, and that emotional toll can be brutal. You ever notice when the bad days in a relationship start to outnumber the good ones? When the good days become so rare that they feel like holidays, like Christmas or St. Patrick's Day? You know, something that happens once in a blue moon? Some people say, but those good days are what keep me holding on. But let's be real. If the good days feel like holidays, it might be time to take a holiday from the relationship, maybe even a permanent one. Because that's no way to live, when the bad outweighs the good, but you cling to that tiny slice of happiness even though deep down you know it's unhealthy. You've got to ask yourself, is that really happiness, or is it just familiar? It's okay to be honest with yourself. It's okay to admit that truth, even if you're not ready to say it out loud yet. It's okay to acknowledge, deep inside, that it's time to move on. I know that's scary. Hell, it's terrifying. Some of us hold on for years, convincing ourselves it's too late to let go, that we've wasted too much time. But here's the thing. It's never too late. You just have to start by being honest with yourself. Before you can tell them, start by admitting it to yourself. Little by little, let your mind acknowledge what your heart might not be ready to accept, that there is life without them. And not just life for them, but for you too. Half the time, we can picture them happy without us, but we can't imagine ourselves being happy without them. That's where it gets unfair. That's when it's time to go. Let go of what's already gone. I love you guys, and I know it's easier said than done. But this is just a reminder for those of you out there struggling with this very thing. I see you. I feel you. Keep your heads high. Let those low vibes stay low, because there's nowhere else for them to go but out. You're in my heart, and I'm rooting for you. Stay strong, but work on yourselves. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Moore's October Rants. Thanks for tuning in. Signing out. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye.